I wanted to do a quick little video on the benefits of numberless word problems and statements when solving problems. First of all, let's talk about the benefits that numberless word problems have. Word problems should not be about problem solving, but rather problem understanding. Students can focus on the context of the problem when numbers are removed to make better sense of the actions being completed in the problem. Let's take a look at an example. Sam's fish store just got in new fish. Sam wanted to put an even number of fish in each tank. They placed fish into separate tanks. How many new fish are there? So what is actually happening in this problem? I'll tell you one thing, no one's slicing and dicing fish. Dividing fish up would terrify some children, but putting them into fish tanks is much more peaceful and relatable. Remember, all four operations are mathematical representations of a real-life action. It's important to help students be able to connect those real-life actions to operations, but first they need to understand what's actually occurring. Removing the actual problem-solving aspect of word problems allows for students of all academic levels to experience success and develop greater critical thinking. By removing the numbers, differentiation is occurring right away. A lot of students aren't successful in word problems not because they lack the critical thinking, but because they lack some of the mathematical operations. It's important to help them refine their critical thinking so that when they are up to par or standard, when it comes to the math standards, they're absolutely ready to solve because they've had a chance to practice problem solving and critical thinking. Here is how we could present it. I always like to set up our students with real world problem solving so that they know that these are actually relatable situations. I start with a word problem with the numbers covered up, and I always make sure to include a math map. The math map is a way for students to be able to document their thinking and make sure they have a place to demonstrate each step of the problem-solving process. There were puppies at the pet store. Each puppy gets treats each day. How many treats are given in all? Right away, we want students to be able to look for the question. Where is the information, or what are we really being asked to do? And I asked students to touch where they can find the question. And I said, okay, look for where you can find the question. 1, 2, 3, tap the screen. And we see if they get their question underlined as well. How many treats are given in all? Next, we create the statement. An statement is simply an answer to this question without giving any numbers, mostly because we don't have it. So instead of a number or answer, we say Again, this allows for any student, despite academic level, to be able to feel successful throughout this process. How many treats were given in all? There were treats given in all. It's important that students identify the word from the question and input it into their statements to really understand what it is that they're solving for. From there, it's time to start looking at either all of the numbers or a partial amount. This is a great way to scaffold problem solving, especially when it comes to math modeling. For example, let's start by taking a look at the number of puppies. Okay, so there were 7 puppies, but I need to figure out how many treats were given in all. I know at least I'll be able to set up this somewhat because each of those puppies were given a certain number of treats. So here are my treats. Let's build my math model here. So far, all I know is that there were 7 puppies. I'm going to draw a circle for each puppy. Okay, now I have my 7 puppies. Right now is a really great place to ask students. We don't have all of our information yet, but do you have any guesses about what operation we should use to solve? See what students say here. Guide their critical thinking as well as reinforce how we see that there are groups here and whether or not they're going to have an equal number in each. Now I think it's time that we look for the number of treats. So I already know there were 7 puppies, and now I see that each of them got 6 treats. Puppy 1, puppy 2, puppy 3, puppy 4, puppy 5, puppy 6, puppy 7. So I like to revisit the statement. Okay, treats were given in all. So what can we do to figure out the total number of treats? We could add up all of these treats together, where we would add 6 up 7 times. And when we do that, we get 42. But is there another way? I also see that there are 7 groups of 6. Oh, 7 groups of 6. That reminds me of multiplication. 7 times 6 equals 42. Notice how my repeated addition sentence as well as my multiplication sentence both match up, which means that I have an answer that I think I can replace my with a number. So treats were given in all. I'm going to replace that with a 42. 42 treats were given in all. From there, it might be helpful to think of a way that students can check their work. Statements are also helpful when solving non-traditional mathematical operations such as elapsed time. Here we see that Roman started hockey at He played for 3 hours. What time did he finish playing hockey? Again, focusing on the question first. What time did he finish playing hockey? Oh, he finished playing hockey at Now notice that we're going to use a number line to help us solve for the elapsed time. But let's dig a little deeper into this problem again. What time did he finish playing hockey? I have to figure out what time he finished, which is going to be on this side of the number line, which means that I'm going to be working towards the right. It looks like I'm given a start time, but I'm not ready to solve that just yet. Can I do any more work before I look at the start time? Yep, I noticed that he played for 3 hours. So what we can do now is we can show the 3-hour jumps. 1, 2, 3. Now all students are going to have to do is input their start time and add additional hours. Almost all of the math work is completed before we're even given all of the information. So at the start time of 2:30, 1 hour is 3:30, 2 hours is 4:30, and the 3rd hour would mean he finished playing hockey at 5:30. I needed to figure out what time he finished playing hockey so I can input that into my answer. Roman finished playing hockey at 5:30. Helpful that you can use when working with your students on word problems. If you have any questions, please just let me know.